Shalom, brothers and sisters. Today I want to talk about the fall of King Zedekiah, the last king of Judah, and basically the fall of Jerusalem by the hands of the Babylonians. I'm going to read in Jeremiah chapter 52. I might skip a verse here and there, but anyways, it says here Zedekiah was 120 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 11 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Hamutal, the daughter of Jeremiah. Now, we don't know if this is the same Jeremiah as the prophet. It could be. And I've heard a lot of scholars say that, they were related, Zedekiah and Jeremiah. And he did which was evil in the eyes of Yahweh, according to all that the previous king had done. The previous king, Jeroboam, had done. For through the anger of Yahweh it came to pass Jerusalem and Judah, till he had cast them out from the presence, that Zedekiah rebelled against the king of Babylon. He was like a puppet king, giving tribute to the Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon. But he wanted to rebel. He just thought he had the smarts of doing. I don't know if he didn't have the muscle and the military might, but I think he had the smarts maybe to, of course, to get allegiances from other mighty kingdoms. And it came to pass in the 9th year of his reign, in the 10th month, in the 10th day of the month, that Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came, he and all his armies, against Jerusalem, and pitched against it, and built forts against it all around about. And the city was besieged unto the 11th year of King Zedekiah. And in the 4th month, in the 9th day of the month, the famine was sore in the city, that there was no bread for the people in the land. And Jeremiah, he prophesied about this to them, Zedekiah and all them, and they didn't heed his warning. He pleaded, but he also pleaded, go along with Babylon. Don't fight him. It's Yahweh's will for the time, his plan. But they didn't listen to Jeremiah. In fact, they persecuted him, threw him in a dungeon. Then all the city was broken up, and all the men of war fled and went forth out of the city by night by the way of the gate between the two walls, which was by the king's garden. Now the Chaldeans were by the city around about, and they went by the way of the plain. But the army of the Chaldeans pursued after the king and overtook Zedekiah in the plains of Jericho, and all his army was scattered from him. So they just ditched him. They ran. They just ran for their own lives. Then they took the king and carried him up to the king of Babylon, to Riblah, in the land of Hamath, where he gave judgment upon him. And the king of Babylon slew the sons of Zedekiah before his very eyes. He slew also the princes of Judah and Riblah. So right in front of Zedekiah, he watched his beloved sons get murdered. And then the other princes too. They watched them all get killed. Then he put out the eyes of Zedekiah, the king of Babylon, bound him in chains, and carried him to Babylon, and put him in prison till the day of his death. Now in the 5th month of the 10th day of the month, which was the 19th year of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came his captain, which was Nebuzaradan of the guard, which served the king of Babylon in Jerusalem, and burnt the house of Yahweh, and the king's house, and all the houses of Jerusalem, and all the houses of the great men burnt he with fire. And all the army of the Chaldeans that were with the captain of the guard broke down all the walls of Jerusalem round about. Then the captain of the guard carried away captive certain of the poor of the people, and the residue of the people that remained in the city, and those that fell away, that fell to the king of Babylon, and the rest of the multitude. Now Nebuchadnezzar's captain left certain poor of the land for vine dressers and husbandmen, So they just left a few of them there. They planned to leave a few of them there just to take care of the place. Also, the pillars of brass that were in the house of Yahweh and the bases and the brazen sea that was in the house of Yahweh, the Chaldeans broke and carried all the brass of them to Babylon. The cauldrons also, and the shovels, and the snuffers, and the bowls, and the spoons, and all the vessels of brass wherewith they ministered, they took them away. And the basins, and the fire pans, and the bowls, and the cauldrons, and the candlesticks, which were the menorahs, and the spoons, and the cups, that which was of gold in gold, and that which was of silver in silver, took the captain of the guard away. The 2 pillars, 1 sea, and 12 brassen bowls that were under the house which King Solomon had made in the house of Yahweh. The brass of all these vessels was without weight. There was so much there. I mean, it's obvious they took them. They just, the Babylonians just took them, And concerning the pillars, the height of one pillar was 18 cubits, and the fillet of the 12 cubits did compass it, and the thickness thereof were 4 fingers. It was hollow. And the chapiter of brass was upon it, and the weight of one chapiter was 5 cubits with network, and upon the chapiters round about. All of the brass, the second pillar were like unto these. And there were 90 and 60 of them on the side, and all them upon the network were about 100 around about. The captain of the guard took Sariah, the chief priest, and Zephaniah, the second priest, and the 3 keepers of the door. He took also out of the city an eunuch, which had the charge of the men of war, and 7 men of them that were near the king's person. They were found in the city, and the principal scribe of the host who mustered the people of the land, and 70 men of the people of the land were found in the midst of the city. So Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, took them and brought them to the king of Babylon and Riblah. And the king of Babylon smote them and put them to death in Riblah in the land of Hamath. Thus Judah was carried away captive out of his own land. This is the people whom Nebuchadnezzar carried away captive in the 7th year, 3,000 Jews and 23. In the 8th year, Nebuchadnezzar he carried away captive from Jerusalem 832 persons. In the 23 year of Nebuchadnezzar's reign, the captain of the guard carried away captive of the Jews 745 persons. All the persons were 4,600. It came to pass in the 30th year, the captivity of Jehoiakim, king of Judah. It was 12th month, and the 25th day of the month, that I can't see that evil day of the month, that evil Merodach, king of Babylon, in the 1st year of his reign, lifted up the head of Jehoiakim, the king of Judah, and brought him forth out of prison. So he brought the former king out of prison, and spoke kindly unto him, and set his throne above the throne of the kings that were with him in Babylon. And he changed his prison garments, and he did continually eat bread before him all the days of his life. And for his diet there was a continual diet given him to the king of Babylon, every day a portion until the day of his death, all the days of his life. So Zedekiah was really a bad king. He was a wicked king, inept and incompetent. And he didn't heed the warning of Yahweh or Jeremiah. And because of that, a little tiny great nation went down the tubes, and did the ripple effect. And the Jews would not come back for another roughly 70 years. And as a small group of Jews, it wasn't the number, it wasn't the majority of the Jews. They stayed in their places, and they were scattered around, but there's a small, tiny group of Jews that went back to rebuild the second temple. But Zedekiah, he wasn't a very good king, and time was coming with the kings before him that did wicked. It was building up. The wickedness was building up so much. Yahweh, he knew the time was coming, and wasn't going to turn. The nation wasn't going to turn their way back toward him. So what else was he to do? He had to spank them, and that's what he did. So I just figure this lesson is, it's well worth remembering and studying. It's unfortunate that this stuff happened, but it did. But it wasn't Yahweh's fault. It was people made their own decision. They had their freedom of choice, and they chose poorly. They just chose poorly, and they got into that little paganistic roller coaster and enjoyed the ride until the end, and the end came. So, but anyways, I just wanted to share that with you. Excuse me, my throat gets a little dry from reading so much, but I enjoy reading and studying and presenting this stuff to you. And hey, please subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell, like button, comment below. Just share this video with other people. I appreciate it. I appreciate your support. I really do. And with that said and done, thank you again. Thank you very much. Peace out. Shalom. Until we meet again.